Hello everybody, my name is Valerie and I'm a real Prague guide. And today in our video we're gonna walk through Prague in the steps of Albert Einstein. Yes, Einstein lived in Prague for a year and a half, a fact that is often left out from his biographies. But we know that every step of the way is important. So today in our video we're gonna visit the places in Prague that this brilliant mind is associated with. What was Einstein doing in Prague anyway? He was appointed as a professor in the German University of Prague on the 1st of April 1911. Yeah, this is not a joke. Imagine if it was, the video would end right here. Einstein has never been to Prague. April Fools. Well, we're gonna talk about his job later in the video because we have to start from here, from the house where Einstein and his family lived when they were in Prague. Even though it is a very nice building, Einstein's family did not have a happy ending here. The relationship between him and his wife Mileva became much worse, and they ended up divorcing later. Einstein famously promised to give his wife all the money for the Nobel Prize that he was sure he would win one day. And he fulfilled his promise. By the way, guys, do you know what Einstein won his Nobel Prize for? Leave it in the comments down below. We know that Einstein loved going for walks, and he would even walk to work every day from here. When he first got to Prague, he mainly worked in Clementinum complex, but later his office was established in the new town of Prague, which is just 15 minutes away from here, and it's quite picturesque, so let's go. Nowadays, Einstein's house is located in Prague 5 district, but back then it was not part of Prague yet. To enter Prague, you had to cross Palacký Bridge. When Einstein would cross it, he would pass by 4 beautiful sculptures that were damaged in the bombing during Second World War, done by American Air Forces, as well as Emmaus Monastery that you can see at the opposite side of the river. The statues were moved to Vyšehrad Park, where you can find them today, and the monastery towers were repaired. There is another story from Einstein's life connected to this bridge. Once he agreed to meet somebody here, and that somebody was 2 hours late. When they finally arrived, they found Einstein lost in his thoughts. He dismissed their apologies with a wave of the hand and said, "Don't worry, here I can concentrate on my thoughts just as well as anywhere else." Einstein really had a gift of concentration. He could focus on one thought for hours. After crossing the bridge, Einstein would cross Palacký Square, that looks very different nowadays, and go up to Charles Square to pass by famous Faust's house. Then he would go through the hospital area to finally take a turn to Viničný Street, where Prague University is residing till today. Right here we can see the Gothic tower of the Church of St. Catherine, attached to the oldest psychiatric ward in Prague. Let's talk about his job, shall we? Originally, the Ministry of Culture and Education did not want to appoint Einstein as one of their professors in the German University of Prague. But eventually, the emperor himself appointed him under one condition. He would have to accept Austro-Hungarian citizenship later. He never did that. Well, why did Einstein come to Prague anyway? First of all, his salary was kind of good here, better than the one that he had in Zurich. And second of all, he was still quite a young professor. He had to accept these unique career opportunities. He taught here for 5 hours a week, mainly mechanics and thermodynamics, but he also had a seminar on theoretical physics. Even though Einstein had quite a lot of students, he apparently did not see that they have any interest in the subject there. I guess they had no clue that he would become a famous professor in a couple years afterwards. Einstein was quite friendly with some of his colleagues. For example, Philipp Frank visited him in his office here, and then Einstein pointed outside of the window to the garden of the psychiatric ward and said, "Look at all of these normal, crazy people who do not study quantum physics." While in Prague, Einstein published 8 articles and took part in the famous Solvay conference in Brussels. Here you can see a very young Einstein with Marie Curie and Solvay himself, who was photoshopped on that picture later. Most importantly, Einstein started to work on his theory of relativity in Prague. You can really see which of the 72 papers of that theory draft were written in Prague and which were written in Zurich, by how much worse the ink and paper were in Prague in comparison to Zurich.
Also guys, the place where we are recording today is part of the Faculty of the Natural Science, where Einstein had his office. It's called Botanical Gardens, and I think you should check it out. So did Einstein like Prague? He loved the city, he loved the food, but with people it was more complicated. Back then, 5 to 7% of all Prague's population considered themselves to be German, because their main language was German language. And Einstein was mainly in touch with this part of the society. Unfortunately, they were quite hostile towards the Czech population, and Einstein really didn't like that. Eventually, he found another circle of friends, German-speaking Jewish intellectuals that were hanging out in two places in Prague, and we are going to visit them now.
The life of any Prague intellectual from the beginning of 20th century invariably evolved around one place, the cafe. Einstein's most visited coffee place is luckily still prospering. It is Café Louvre. It was first opened in 1902 and had quickly become the hub of all the German-speaking intellectuals.
In Café Louvre, Einstein was hanging out with a group of Jewish German-speaking intellectuals led by a woman called Berta Fantova, who also had a salon right here on the Old Town Square. Here we have a memorial plaque dedicated to it, but the salon was probably in this building, so it's a little bit of a mistake.
Fanta Salon was also attended by Rudolf Steiner, Max Brod, and sometimes even Franz Kafka.
The daughter-in-law of Berta Fantova, Johanna, became a close friend of Einstein in Princeton when she migrated there in 1939. Johanna was probably the closest person to Einstein in the last years of his life. She had a diary where she attempted to paint a portrait of Einstein as a humanitarian, not a famous celebrity scientist. She described how Einstein felt crushed by the accusations towards Robert Oppenheimer, the creator of the atomic bomb, and how sometimes he felt annoyed, and he would say that every single crazy person feels obliged to write him letters. I think Einstein's mind would be blown by the YouTube comment section sometimes. Also, Einstein would often diminish his own achievements and say that he feels like an outcast.
The physicists say that I'm a mathematician, and the mathematicians say that I'm a physicist. I am a completely isolated man, and though everybody knows me, there are very few people who really know me.
Albert Einstein was one of the most brilliant minds of 20th century and probably the first scientist celebrity, but he was also just a human. So how about we finish the video on this note and show you what us and Einstein had in common, his most favorite view of Prague from Hanau Pavilion.